Hey guys, what's going on? It is your boy DQ back at you again with yet another video. If you are brand new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I actually want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Let me know where you're actually coming from. But without further ado, let's get into this video. So today's video is actually going to be why you should move to Germany. Germany isn't for everyone, but Germany has a lot of upsides that makes it actually one of the best countries to actually live in. And so this is what this video is going to be on why you should actually move to Germany. And yeah, I did a video on how you actually move to Germany, and I will put a card up here for you guys where you can also watch that. I will also put a link in the description so you can go watch that video after this one. Let's start this video. So a major reason why a lot of people choose Germany, or why Germany is actually the country you should move to, is because of the location. Germany's location is so central to a lot of countries. It's connected to, I want to say 6 or so. Don't quote me on that. I will put the correct number up here if I'm wrong. But I know for a fact that it's connected to Switzerland, Czech Republic, France, Luxembourg, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Hopefully I'm not missing a country or whatnot. But it is so essential. You can literally take a train or even take a bus. I took the Flixbus to Italy, which I will never do again, mainly because we drove through Switzerland, and driving through Switzerland, they have this tunnel where they only let a few cars in at one time, and so you are literally sitting in traffic for hours trying to get through that tunnel, and whoa. So, but yeah, but the flights all around Europe are super cheap from Germany as well. I flew to Barcelona for about 19 euros. I flew from Rome back to Germany for, I want to say, 21 euros. I flew round trip to London. Well, that was around 100 euros, but I did this thing called, I can't remember what it's actually called, but it's with Germanwings, where you actually just book a ticket and it doesn't tell you where you're going until after everything is booked. And so that way you know where to pack. So I did that, and that was around 100 euros because I wanted like a party scene or something. But it's so nice and everything. Round trip to Dublin, I paid around 30 euros. It's absolutely crazy how cheap it is that you can fly all over the place in Europe. I'm not saying that only Germany has these cheap places, but even if you want to get around with a car, you could drive to Austria, you could drive to Czech Republic. I drove to the mountains in Austria, I drove to Prague, we drove to Amsterdam, I drove to Switzerland. So these are just countries that you can just literally drive to right from Germany. And that is why the location is so essential and whatnot, and why I think it is the best country to live in Europe. So since we're talking about kind of like transportation and whatnot, let's go into that. So one, you have mobility. So the public transportation in Germany is absolutely amazing, especially if you're from the US like me. The public transportation here is almost non-existent. So the public transportation in Germany, no matter where you live, you can be in the suburbs and a train will be able to get you there. If a train can't get you there, you can take a bus there. The times may vary, and sometimes they might stop at a certain time. I know I lived in a very small town called Kirchberg on the Jagd, and the bus, we didn't have any trains, but the buses stopped running around, I want to say 6 or 7 p.m. But if there was like a beer festival or some kind of big festival, they did make exemptions, and they had buses running until about midnight or 1 a.m. because they knew people would be coming out and needing to go to these smaller towns, and the buses would be packed with people because a lot of us were like, oh my god, we can stay out longer in a bigger city since we were in this little small village and whatnot. But yeah, you do not really need a car in Germany. Is a car better? Yeah, sure. Maybe because you can be more flexible. But I will say gas is kind of high and expensive, so that's why I recommend public transportation everywhere. So a lot of foreigners that actually come over to Germany, it's much better for them because one, they don't need to buy a car because it's not essential. You will have a lot of foreigners that won't have cars, and everyone's like, oh, you don't have a car? When in the US, if you don't have a car, it's like, oh, why don't you have a car? And they're like, oh, I don't have a driver's license. Like, oh, why don't you have a driver's license? It's kind of a bad thing. It's looked at as a negative. Compared to in Europe, it doesn't matter if you have a car or not. Someone will have a car, and if not, you can get around pretty easy with a bus or train. And that leads into the next one, the Autobahn. I absolutely loved driving on the Autobahn. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh my god, you can drive as fast as you want on the Autobahn, which is true and isn't true at the same time. It is true because there are parts of the Autobahn where you can drive as fast as you want, which is pretty nice because where I lived, you can literally drive as fast as you want. But there are also other parts of the Autobahn where there are speed limits and you are not able to go as fast as you want. There are also stricter road laws in Germany because of the faster speed limits. The average speed limit in Germany is around 120 kilometers per hour, which averages around 70 miles per hour. And to keep up with that, they actually have speed cameras everywhere, but luckily you can download this little app called Blitzer.de that actually alerts you to all the speed cameras in the area, and this alerts you to the ones on the highway or the Autobahn, as we would like to say because it is Germany, and also in the towns and cities around you as well. What's really good about this as well is that the cops really don't pull over people for speeding because that's not their job. It is their job to protect and serve, so they are there to protect and serve you and not make a higher commission like they do here in the US. In the US, cops will pull you over, we all know, at the end of the month, so that way they can make more money because they didn't meet their quota for the month or something like that. The last few days of the month, you will see a lot of police officers out pulling people over. It's ridiculous here in the US. Since we're talking about cars and everything and how the gas prices are a little bit high, the cost of living in Germany is actually super good. Again, cars and gas may be a little bit steep and high for price and everything, but the cost of living itself is really cheap. Housing is also a little bit expensive in Germany, but if you look at the food prices, if you look at going out, if you look at alcohol prices, the cost of living in Germany is super cheap. I mentioned in another one of my videos that when I went food shopping, I would spend maybe 100 euros a month just on the food for me. Obviously, I was only eating for me and I had all the room in my fridge, so I didn't really need to spend all that money. Even when you go out to restaurants, I think the restaurants are fairly cheap. You go to that ice cream parlor, yeah, ice cream is gonna be super cheap. You could get 3 scoops for like 3 euros, whereas in the US, 3 scoops of ice cream might be around $6 or $7. It is ridiculous how the cost of living here is in the US, and especially if you look at going grocery shopping, you can easily spend just $20 on one meal for yourself at the grocery store. You don't need that in Germany. You could buy a box of pasta, which is maybe going to be €1.50, buy some tomato sauce, which is going to be another euro, and maybe some chicken, which will be around 4 euros. So you put that all together, you're spending around 6 or 7 euros for that dinner for just yourself. And we all know we never cook pasta just for one person, so you can actually make that for 2 or 3 people. If you're like me, I always end up not making just pasta for one. I don't know how to do it, and yeah. So these next two kind of tie into one another. Family and education and job opportunities. Raising a family, since the cost of living is so cheap, it is super easy. I'm not going to say easy because raising a family isn't easy, but it's actually super cheap. The government actually helps you out with just maternity and I would say fraternity leave. Because fraternity leave isn't really a thing in the US, some people might be like, fraternity leave? Oh no, it's not fraternity, because fraternity is brother. It would be paternity. Excuse me. Paternity leave. So what that actually means is that you, after a child is born, you are actually given a year for each parent to be home, and that year can be split up any way possible. So one parent can do 6 months and the other parent does 6 months, or they can do 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. And what's really good is you will have your job after this. I do know some occasions where people will come back and their job wasn't available or anything, but that is rare due to my knowledge on the situation. But I also have a friend. She was able to get 3 years off because she has 3 kids. So the first year was actually paid, and then his second and third year, she was actually getting money from the government while her husband was actually working. Also, the government helps you out by giving you some money per child that you actually have. 1, because it helps with the cost of having a child, and 2, so that way you're not completely struggling. So they actually give you a little bit of extra money on the side, so that way you can actually get those Pampers, get that food and everything and whatnot for your children. And yeah, also kids get money from the government. I believe it's until the age of 26 in Germany. It might be a little bit older, it might not. So that way college students aren't completely stressed out on getting a job and whatnot. They can get a side job, or what they actually call in Germany a Nebenjob. But in the US, if you're actually looking for a job, I was working 2 jobs and I was a full-time student here in the US because university here is absolutely expensive. So now that we're actually talking about education, university and everything in Germany is actually free. There is a little downside to that, mainly because of the taxes that they actually pay in Germany are super, super high. I want to say the average tax is around 42%, but they get free healthcare and they also get free education out of that. But Germany also does not stress going to university. There are also other opportunities out there for you. Germany has one of the top education systems in the world. They don't stress going to the 12th grade. If you go to the 12th grade, that is called your Abitur, and you actually have a higher education than other people, whereas you can stop school after the 10th grade in Germany. After stopping school in the 10th grade, you will probably do an internship or an Ausbildung. An Ausbildung is kind of like an apprenticeship, but apprenticeships don't really exist in the US anymore. What that actually means though is your internship or your Ausbildung typically lasts around 4 years. You can have some that last around 2 years or so, but they typically last around 4 years, where you're actually going to school for this trade that you're actually doing. So it could be like wood shop or going into machinery or mechanics or something. You will have people go to university for this and they get a different level of education, but again, these people are working at these jobs. Since they are working at these jobs and they're learning everything, they aren't making a full-time wage as the people that are, let's say, went to university for it and they go straight into the job after university, they will start at a full-time wage. Whereas the people that are doing this internship or this apprenticeship, they will start maybe around 450 euros. This price might have gone up, but when I was doing my internships in Germany, it was actually 450 euros. You don't pay any taxes on those because you don't make enough for the tax bracket. You actually get money from the government that helps with these extra costs that you actually have as well. So they help you with the rent and food, which is that money that you get until the age of 26. That is what they call Kindergeld. In my opinion, I think this is actually really good because in the US, we stress education too much. We stress going to university too much. And what do people do? They go right out of high school into something that they probably don't even do. And majority of people here in the US actually don't work in a field that they have a degree in. So pretty much their degree is useless. And also they spent so much money on this degree, probably going to a school with a name or something to it, like Harvard or Princeton. All these Ivy League and top schools in the US don't give you financial aid, so you need to find scholarships. And I want to say these schools are around 60,000 US dollars a year, which is absolutely insane. Who can afford that? I do not know. And going into the last one, I would say Oktoberfest. And I know I say this in so many videos, but It is absolutely amazing and wonderful. But there are more festivals to Germany than just Oktoberfest, which a lot of people don't know, which is why I always say Oktoberfest, so that way people are like, oh yeah, I know Oktoberfest. But you have other festivals such as Weindorf, which is like a wine festival. You have Mooswiese, you have Frühlingsfest. So Mooswiese, and Volksfest, there are other Oktoberfest festivals, and Frühlingsfest is just like the spring Oktoberfest. And there's Carnival, which is Faschings. Depending on where you're from in Germany, they will actually say Carnival, and other places will say Faschings, which is in February, which is this huge festival in Cologne, but other places do celebrate it, and it's kind of like their Halloween festival. And there's so many more, not many more, that's wrong English. There are so much more, is that English? I don't know. There are much more to Germany than just Oktoberfest, why can't I say this? And there are a lot of festivals that you can actually go to as well. These festivals are amazing, and they are the epiphany of German culture and everything, and I absolutely love them. I think this is definitely the top reason to go to Germany, so that way you can immerse yourself into these traditions and customs that Germany actually has. If you got some value to this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Again, go follow me on Instagram, because I will be polling and asking you guys some questions about what you think about the US, and I will be doing a Q&A for you guys in a future video. To see more videos like this, hit one of these videos on the screen that you see right now, and I will see you guys in the next video. I love you, and again, I hope you all are doing well, and someone has told you that you are absolutely amazing, because you are. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.